This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again, time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 150. Tonight, I'm joined by Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
So tonight is the Tyranny game of the month show for the, this is the March game, I believe. Whose pick was this?
That was mine.
Tam, explain to us why you picked it. And I know why you picked it, but explain to us.
So
explain to the folks at home.
Yes.
Tyranny is a game that I thought was really cool, and knew that the way I played it was not going to be the way anybody else played it. And so I was really interested in putting up a game that I thought was both really good and encouraged a bunch of different ways for people to play.
So, of note, this game comes with one hell of a pedigree. I mean, this is Obsidian, aka formerly known as Black Isle.
I don't know if that's entirely...
I'm not sure if that's true anymore, really.
Really?
A lot of those people are gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Obsidian isn't I don't think you can say Obsidian, formerly known as Black Isle. Because I think
You still say Obsidian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's still a storied tradition. Even if the people are all different. I don't know. I tend to like Obsidian games.
Obsidian does great work.
They maybe don't always have the best Q&A as far as, the functional elements of the games. I'm looking at you, New Vegas, and all the weird bugs that were in New Vegas. But
so there were weird bugs in New Vegas, but when it got patched, that was a heck of an impressive game. And
it was.
The bugs I did find, I couldn't really fault them for.
Well, the thing is, I played that game at launch, and it was compelling enough to keep me playing, but there were all sorts of fall through the floor bugs, and can't find the NPC that I need to talk to bugs, so yeah, it was a thing. But it was still a damn fine game. Tyranny, out of the gate, this was a really solid game.
With, no marketing whatsoever.
Yeah.
It, just appeared out of nowhere. It's oh yeah, by the way...
this came out today.
Although, to be fair, it was really hard for anything to make the news in early November last year.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the only reason that I saw anything about Tyranny was because I was a Pillars of Eternity backer. And I feel like they, sent a couple of emails out saying, hey...
Right.
We're doing another game using the same engine.
Yeah, that's how I initially found out about it. And to some extent, this feels like a very experimental game. Sure, it's the tried and true, Baldur's Gate descendant PC RPG formula, but it's doing a lot of experimental things.
Yeah, to me it felt like Pillars of Eternity is to Baldur's Gate as this is to Planescape Torment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like I didn't actually love Pillars of Eternity, but I feel like this very clearly learned a whole bunch of lessons from Pillars of Eternity.
So the premise of the game is that this evil overlord has taken over the world, and you are functionally the court bailiff, for lack of a better term.
You're a cleric.
Yeah.
Clerics in this world have to be severe badasses.
Responsible for enforcing the will of Kairos. This, sometimes involves some talking, sometimes some force, sometimes a little bit of both.
Yep. Yeah,
Specifically,
so basically...
you are meting out the justice of Kairos.
Yes.
Allegedly. Cough.
You are... well, in the sense that you are literally judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that you aren't beholden to people above you, that are going to judge every action you make.
It's true, even when they aren't there necessarily, or you can't see them.
Right.
Bled and Mark is watching.
Bled and Mark.
Bled and Mark was watching.
Always watching.
Yes, so basically there's this evil overlord who is totally not Sauron, and he or she, it's up for debate, started conquering the world 400 years ago, and the game starts with the last chunk of resistance is taken over, the tiers.
Yeah.
And character creation involves, in part, determining what you were doing during the conquest of the tiers, which is pretty cool.
I really enjoyed that because it was, I think, a really nice way of easing you into the world and giving you some background and still letting you make some choices that have repercussions down the road. Like, they're not necessarily huge repercussions, but like
Turns
people
out some of those
remember
actually
what
are
you
in
did.
fact huge.
Yo, no, they are.
Really?
They are. I dropped the Edict of Storms on Stalwart, and I had to deal with that.
So the Edict of Storms and Fire and Earth all get read regardless by one of the other Fate Binders.
Yeah, somebody reads all of those. The question is, which one do you read?
But the fact that I did it
Does
really
impact,
changed the way
yes.
everyone interacted with me.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're like, oh shit, you nuked this town from orbit, basically.
Yeah,
They don't want to deal with you very much if you do that, turns out.
I burned the scribes.
Like, I know, like, Lethrian's Crossing, you know, depending on if you went there, you can determine who's in control of it during the game.
Yeah.
I don't know, since I've only done one playthrough, I don't know just how much of a difference that makes, but I have to assume it makes at least a little bit of
Don't go
difference.
there, you end up in the area where the game starts and determine how
Yes.
that got conquered.
And how all of the
I
people...
don't remember the name of that area right now.
Vindrian's something.
Indrian's Well, yeah.
Vindrian's
Indians well, yeah.
Yes, so you can, how the people... So, yeah, I've just barely started a second playthrough, and I went there for it. And, yeah, it's already noticeably changing the way people react to me.
Yeah. But I to Grace's point, like, they're not necessarily huge earth-shattering differences, but they're really personal differences.
Yeah, I think maybe that was more what I was trying to get at. Like, it doesn't necessarily block off any path from you as far as I could tell in
I guess
terms
that's
of
what I
what your
meant.
choices are.
You can make choices in the conquest that will block off paths from you.
Ah, okay.
You
I
can.
did not get that impression.
Yeah,
but-
there because of my actions in the path, there was like one area that was just gone from the map for me that I never could go to.
Huh.
I don't remember what the name of the area was, but like, no, it was permanently grayed out, and there was no way for me to unlock it.
Interesting. What did you do?
I was like kind of a hard ass, and like I dealt harsh justice with everyone that came across me in the little intro. Because like I struggle so hard with playing the bad guy. So at the beginning of my gameplay, I'm like, I am going to try and commit to this. I am going to try and be the Judge Dredd character. And anybody that stood up against me, I knocked down. And as a result, there was like a piece of the map that I couldn't get to because of my actions. Like, so
Well, I know if you don't read the Edict of Earth, Planescape becomes Halfgate.
Yeah.
I guess there is an option you can take when reading the Edict of Earth to have it stay as Planesgate.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because it was totally half gate for me. I
was
broke
about
down the
to say,
library.
It was half. Yeah, it
It's
was.
half gay for me.
Halfgate for me.
Yep.
And never got to go visit the library because when I was given the option, it was like you can either go to Lethrian's Crossing or the library, and I was like, okay, I'll finish stuff off in Lethrian's Crossing, and then maybe I'll go to the library after that. No,
And
I
then
didn't have a
you it.
Lethrian.
And
I
then
didn't have a
what?
Lethrian's. Yeah, I didn't have a Lethrian's Crossing option there. It
What
was just
happened?
go to the Burning Library.
Oh, I had
What
a
did-
choice and I went to both.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I went to the Burning Library right off the bat.
I also went to the Burning Library right off the bat because Blood and Mark told me that's where I could acquire power that would allow me to usurp all of these assholes.
Well,
Okay,
so,
I know
like,
So to back up a bit,
So let's back up. Yeah, how did everybody play, and what path did everybody go down? Because that clearly makes a big
it makes a big
difference.
It's a huge difference.
So I'll start. I sided with the disfavored, and I basically started out as like I will enforce the laws and try to minimize casualties as much as possible while doing it, but I will enforce the laws.
that's kind of the path I took as well. Except for like anytime someone like I never took the back down option. Like if somebody started escalating a conversation, I would hold to the path and straight up wreck them. And I am shocked and amazed that I didn't kill any companions. Because I knew I could, but like I ended up recruiting all of the companions by some miracle.
The only one that I ever got worried about was Kills in Shadow, because if you side with the disfavored, you have, as far as I can tell, you have no choice but to genocide the beast women in the plains.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. This is the point at which this is the point at which we need to talk about something, that when you have companions, there are two different paths you can take with each companion.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, you can actually
you can take both.
You can be moving down both paths, but like with Kills with Shadows, I had maximum fear. She was not going to step out of line. And I'm not going to there's a conversation that I had that was basically something to the effect of, I am not going to hunt down the beast women and take them out, but I mean, if someone stands in my way, I will kill them. And then she agreed that, this was a weak pack and they needed to die.
Yeah, see, I had loyalty with her and less fear, but happily I had enough loyalty that I was able to assure her that no, we've got to do this, but from here on out, it's going to be okay.
Like, I had a version of that conversation, and it was like 5 seconds later, I encountered more of them that were already aggro with me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we know how Bell and I played. Kodra, you clearly went down the path of anarchy.
Anarchy? I am establishing my own law.
That is also what I did on my first playthrough, although I played through it twice.
So I'm legit curious here. Like, I feel like there's a difference between I'm working for Blood and Mark and actually anarchy.
Let's be clear. The actual choice was, I think you're both assholes and screw you.
Yes. So
that results in Tunon telling you you're working for Blood and Mark.
Well, so actually Tunon didn't even tell me I was working for Blood and Mark. So what happened with me was, at the beginning I started siding with the disfavored, and then I saw how the disfavored acted and was like, okay, these guys are terrible. I'm going to start siding with the chorus, and I did some things for the chorus, because, I mean, at least they took prisoners, unlike Grave and Ash. But then I was like, all of these people are also awful. So I started sort of trying to gain rep with the Vendrian's Wall folks, and ultimately,
the Unbroken,
the Oathbreakers.
Oh, you can get rep with the Vendrian Guard.
Yeah, the Vendrian Guard.
Vendrian Guard. Yeah.
But I didn't get enough to like stave off to allow them to take the Spire, which I think is an option actually.
It is an option. That's what I did my second.
Which were those? Were those the people that had the?
They're the Oathbreakers, the people you're fighting.
In the first chapter.
Okay, I must have just slaughtered them all.
Yes.
Because like there was another town that I encountered where like some mercenaries took it over, and I straight up killed them all.
That's the Bronze Brothers.
Lethian's Crossing.
Yeah.
They are also assholes.
Anyways, so I was like, all right, I'm going to lead the vanguard of the chorus to take the Spire. And then I do all of the heavy lifting to take the Spire while the chorus and the disfavored are out there fighting amongst themselves. And the lieutenant of the chorus comes in and is like, hey, you did it. Great. Now we've taken this in the name of the Voices of Nara. And I was like, no, we haven't. And we both get like summoned to the top of the tower. And I had Lantry, who was at this point my favorite companion, write out a note, put a dagger through it into the lieutenant, and kicked him off of the wall, off of the Spire.
This is hilarious because this is exactly what I did.
Except for kicking him off the Spire. That's what I did the first time.
And at that point, I get a message from Blood and Mark, which is like, you need to make nice with the two factions. But then you realize it's in special ink, and if you hold it over a fire, it's like, that was hilarious. Why don't you come to the Ashweald and we'll talk? And so I went to the Ashweald before I went to Tunon.
Interesting.
And so Blood and Mark is like, hey, you are a troublemaker, and I like you. If you want to tangle with Archons, I can show you how to get relics of power that will allow you to be able to do that and possibly even take on Kairos himself.
Yep, because Blood and Mark just wants to murder some fools.
Because
Mark is hilarious.
Blood
I
and
really
Mark
like
is
Blood and Mark.
hilarious.
I did like Blood and Mark.
I particularly liked that there is a point farther on in the game where you do go back. Well, I went back to court briefly. Like, I got this missive from Tunon that was like, "Hey, you better come back here right now. I mean it." And I sent a reply. It was like, "Sure, I'm on my way," and then I did a bunch of other stuff, and then went. And Blood and Mark is like hanging out there pretending not to notice me, and I went and was like, "Hey, nice braziers," and he's like, "Here, do you want them?" And like the ballsy answer is sure, and then of course that has potential repercussions later.
See,
I think,
that
too.
conversation that I had with him,
even if you aren't on the anarchist path.
Right, really? That conversation with him was like, at some point I'm going to have to kill you. And when that happens, I want you to be prepared. Here, take these.
Oh,
no.
Nope,
that's not how he reacted to me at all. He was like, sup, how's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like Blood and Mark, I had like pretty serious wrath with Blood and Mark.
Oh man.
And he was like, it like that whole sequence.
Blood and Mark, basically whenever you snark off to people,
regardless
of whether or not he's involved in the conversation.
Like, I think by the end of my first conversation with Blood and Mark, I think I was at free favor already with him, just from snarking off at him.
By the end, so he likes it when you snark off. He also likes it when you act subtly. So like, when you meet him in the court, as long as you like don't make it obvious that you know who he is, and like do the subtle nudge, nod, wink, wink. He likes that too. So I like by the end of that point, I had 5 favor with the guy. It was awesome. I love
like he was kind of Sans on a genocide run for me.
Here's my. It's fascinating because my playthrough was very different. My playthrough ended with 3 dead Archons. One of whom was Blood and Mark.
Second playthrough ended with 3 dead Archons, and he was one of them.
He was one of them.
I only killed 2, but yeah.
I killed 2. I killed Voices of Nerat, and I killed Blood and Mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if there's a way to not kill him if you are not on the anarchist path.
I don't think there is, because I had a lot of favor, and I really tried, but yeah.
So,
and like...
My playthrough was, from the very beginning, I don't like either the Disfavored or the Scarlet. What is it?
Scarlet Chorus.
Scarlet Chorus. I don't like either of these factions. I would like to hear more about the Empire because there's a lot more going on here than just these 2. But I don't like either of them. So my whole like character creation through the takeover of the tiers was a very careful, very subtle balancing of power between them so that neither one could get ahead. Which led me into the first section, which, because I was dead even with both of them, I didn't favor either one. And both of the lieutenants were ordered to stay with me because neither of the 2 Archons thought they could trust me enough, especially because I wouldn't divulge any information. Not only would I not divulge any information other than what I was absolutely required to, I used a lot of the glare silently. I also absolutely hewed to the laws as I knew them perfect through the entire like first act and change.
That was the weird thing too, is like basically when you got to the Tunon judges you court case.
Oh, so let me get to there.
Okay.
I took Vendrian's Wall, or Vendrian's Spire, whatever it was, and I happened, just because it was who I was favoring at the moment, because I went with the Scarlet Chorus to take the one town, but then I went with the Disfavored to actually take the Spire. We got up to the top of the Spire, and I told the lieutenant to leave, because this was not taken for either faction. This was taken for Kyros, not either of you. And since you couldn't do it without me, I am the one who is going to take credit. and then I reported immediately to Tunon as requested because I'm following the laws. And yes, I got to the Tunon's judgment portion, and Tunon was like, "Wow, you acted impeccably. I can find absolutely no fault in your handling of the situation. You could have been more diplomatic. It was like you could have been more diplomatic and played nicer with the two archons." And my comment was, they proved themselves incompetent immediately, and I wasn't ready, and I wasn't going to be a party to a failure because of their incompetence. At which point Tunon was like, "Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. I give you operational authority to do absolutely whatever you need to. You do what you need to. I will warn you though, with the amount of jurisdictional authority I'm about to give you, we're gonna have to keep another pair of eyes on you. Let me introduce you to Bled and Mark."
Is that what happens if you report back before you go talk to Bled and Mark in the Ashfield?
I never got that chance.
Yeah.
Oh.
I did not get an invitation to speak to Bled and Mark in the Ashfield.
Neither did I. The thing is
if you actually take the Spire for one of the factions.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't take it for anarchists. Like, it wasn't like, no, F both of you. It was, you two have helped, and in my report to our collective master, I will comment that you performed your duties adequately once given the proper motivation.
I like that you have this option if you go down an anarchy sort of path, or like you did, where you have multiple choices here. You can do what you did and say, I am a servant of Kairos and I am doing my job. I'm just doing it independent of those two other squabbling factions. Or you can do what I did, which is, I am a bloodthirsty warlord and I'm murdering all of you fools, including all of the independent factions, until there is nothing left. Or you can try to, make nice with the independent factions and sort of have some kind of semblance of order that isn't just terror.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking to other random NPCs, and one of the things that started to sneak in kind of towards the end of Act 1 and definitely in Act 2 was, I'm not actually, other than Kairos himself, I'm not actually convinced the Empire is that bad a place.
Yeah.
Like, it really sets you up to be like, oh, the evil Empire. But then the more people you talk to, the more I'm like, okay, so what we are seeing is a war of the Empire taking more ground because Kyros is a dick. And
he is the Empire. Like
she
that
is
is she.
the Empire.
She is the Empire. She is the Overlord.
Yeah.
Although you don't find that out until nearly the end of the game.
Yes. But what I think is really interesting is other people talking about the life in the Empire actually not that bad. And
I mean, as long as you are a loyal servant of Kairos.
Exactly. Like minus the head of the whole thing.
Like minus the genocide, it's great.
Sure. And that was my thing. Like, okay, can we fix this part of it? Because like there are plenty of happy people in the Empire. The Empire is not a land of fear.
Oh. I don't know about that.
Like
everything's fun and games until somebody drops an edict on your town.
Sure, but that's not happening elsewhere.
It did.
The background is that it happened a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, from as I understood it, there are, just like there are, 3 edicts in place in the tiers, there are edicts like here and there scattered about the rest of the Empire because, Kairos got cranky about something.
So, did any of you...
Kairos is sort of the root of this problem.
Did any of you encounter the Edict of Shadows?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I did not.
You can cast it yourself.
Yeah.
You, on the Anarchist path.
Okay.
I did not get any Edict of Shadows.
I cast it on Kairos' realm. They will suffer in darkness.
I cast the bad luck one on them. I figured that would be funny. Everything just starts falling apart.
I cast Edict of Earth on Kairos' realm.
So, my second time through the game, I did join the Vendrian Guard, basically, which results in a very interesting situation for Act 2. Because if you go talk to Tunon, he's like, yes, you did this thing. I'm not sure why you did this thing, but you have given us an opportunity. Why don't you examine the activities of those two assholes and see what they've been doing? We'll put them on trial. And so throughout all of Act 2, you can now take a look and see what they're doing. You are gathering evidence against them to use for trial in the start of Act 3.
That also happens if you support either the Disfavored or the Scarlet Chorus. You're gathering evidence the whole time, and can accuse one or both of them at the end. And
I was also gathering evidence. So I started out siding with the chorus and then switched like Kodra, but I definitely had the option to gather evidence. And when I went back, when Tunon was like, "Hey, you better come back here," and I did. Like, I could present a little bit of the evidence, but then the next time I went back, it was like, oh, surprise, you're on trial. Not really surprise.
That trial was amazing. The outcome of that trial for me was amazing.
Another thing is that my second time through the game, I was supposed to do that, and before actually going to trial, I just decided I was going to take it into my own hands and killed both of them.
See, I did this, but I only killed one of them. Like, before I even got to trial, I'm like, nope, screw this shit. I'm going to kill Voices of Nerat. And then when I actually went to trial, it was my trial instead of theirs.
See, I went to the trial. I went to the trial first and accused the Voices of Nerat because I wasn't sure if like Tunon would accept it if I accused both of them. So I accused the Voices of Nerat, and I got Tunon to declare the Voices of Nerat guilty and call for his execution. And he called out Bled and Mark. I was like, nah, I got this. So I got to go and deliver the writ of execution and kill the Voices of Nerat.
I definitely killed both of them before I went, and then I had my trial, and then I killed Tunon. I was like, I do not accept like your jurisdiction here. I do not accept this trial, and he went through the motions anyway, and then I was like, no, I still won't accept this. We're done here.
See, I got Tunon to swear fealty to me.
Yeah, me too.
So for me, it was I come to the trial. I'm like, hey, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence against both of them. They're both big wastes of space. Tunon, and I got the thing, and Tunon was like, I agree. Your performance has been stellar this whole time. I will issue writs of execution for them. Do you wish to, do you want me to send Bled and Mark, or do you want to do this yourself? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Bled and Mark's job to do that, so he can go ahead and do that. And he like blips out and comes back. He's like, all right, I murdered them. We're done. Also, I'm real pissed off at you because he spent the entire game like kind of wheedling at you about being the better master manipulator, and he does not appreciate you giving him orders. And so he pulled knives, and I was like, all right, you want to dance? Let's dance. Oh, bye. Tunon, let's talk. And Tunon is like, you did have a trial arraigned against you. However, I don't feel, I forget exactly how he put it, but he was like, I want to ask you a few questions. Does so. And at the end, he's like, I don't feel like I am enough of a paragon of justice to cast aspersions on you. You are so incorruptible and so unflappable that I cannot see it in myself, and I hope that you accept my fealty because I need to learn from you.
So him declaring fealty to me was like a vastly different sequence. Like, basically, I went through a trial, and like I had heavy lore. Like, my lore was damn near maxed out, I think, or something like that. Because like I could take every lore option, no matter how big the number was.
You can legal speak your way around his trial,
right? Yeah. So basically, like at the end, he did this whole "I've been living a lie. Everything that I thought was wrong. You're the true paragon of justice.
Yeah, I got that at the start of the trial. Like, he was just like, I'm supposed to put you on trial, but I don't feel like I can. Please instead accept me learning at your feet. I was like, seems decent. Let's do this.
Yeah, in my case, basically by the point that that I realized, oh, okay, I'm an Archon. That's cool. I decided that clearly this meant I needed to be in charge. And so I figured, okay, which of these other guys, could I actually work with? The Voices of Nrod is crazy, so I had him murdered. Or actually, I killed him myself. Graven Ash, I figured I could work with. He's not a bad guy. He just doesn't need to be in charge. He just needs me to tell him what to do, and everything will be great.
Yeah, I basically told Graven Ash that this entire time it's been me commanding his armies, and he's done nothing.
I was a little nicer about it, but yeah, basically the same thing. It's like you're their father, I'm their commander.
Right, exactly. That was where it ended up in the conversation.
Oh, I should probably point out that Graven Ash did swear fealty to me prior to me condemning him. Like, he swore fealty to me under that exact same thing. And I told Tuna, I'm like, this guy's...
Yeah, and you're like, that's nice, but I don't need that.
That's nice, but
okay.
Yeah. I did ask Saren if she wanted to be the new Archon of Justice. Like, what? No.
God, what cracked me up was the sequel. Like, I had max loyalty with Siren.
Siren is great. I love Siren.
And
how?
And like,
I want to know
I never
how
had
in
any...
the world that works.
Like,
I don't know.
I hardly ever had any opportunity to get any loyalty with Siren, and she was in my party.
I talked to her a lot.
I got her.
What Siren likes
Although
is complicated.
I had a lot of wrath with Siren from the Conquest. My second time through the game.
I did not.
I happily had some loyalty with her from the Conquest, and so I was able to get to 3 by the very end. But
when you start murdering chorus folks, Siren really likes it.
She never seems to care. I don't know.
It depends on the reason.
I never recruited her.
So the thing
it's like anything like bad news. No.
Oh, Siren is great.
She's an amazing character.
Here's bad news.
I mean, she is really bad. Like,
yeah,
you're not wrong.
Probably shouldn't take that hat off her.
Like, I would fucking take the hat off.
Oh, I would totally take the hat off.
She was my bud.
Yeah,
but I mean,
no, she can keep the hat. She can absolutely keep the hat.
Siren and I were a couple of mages with some armored bodyguards, just trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like, you meet her and it's like, okay, she's kind of weird and wants to control people, and this is scary. And then you start talking to her about her past, and it's really sad.
Yeah,
it makes sense why she did that.
Yeah, and that was
people have been screwing with her from like the beginning.
Yeah,
like I just didn't care. It's like, no, you're bad news. No, I don't need more complications in my life.
What I was leading up to was like the second the edict was called down, where basically like every Archon has to kill each other or subjugate every other Archon.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, nope.
I swear fealty to you, done.
Yeah, like it was instantly, nope. I swear fealty to you.
Yeah, yeah. She was immediately like, no, I'm none of that.
Yeah,
we're cool.
Yeah, Siren. The thing that Siren really likes is when you give people the opportunity to make their own choices and respect those choices, whatever they happen to be.
That makes sense. And
as a result, she's like, a lot of times the what's this called? The Scarlet Chorus wants to fight you, and I'll say, I mean, I'm not interested in fighting you because I don't like killing for pleasure. But if you do and you demand a fight, like, sure, I guess. And Siren likes that.
That was
they're making a choice, and I'm respecting it.
That was the path that I took a lot. Like, I mean, I wasn't like super bloodthirsty. It's just, I'm gonna do this. If you have to fight me because you're gonna stand in my way, then okay, I'm going to kill you. But I have to do this. Like, you can not fight me, and that's cool. But I'm going to go do this thing, or like if I need to get through this camp, or if I need to get into this spire, and if you're going to stop me, you are going to die.
There were a lot of moments in the game where I would have been entirely happy to find a nonviolent solution, but that wasn't an option because the things I did in the past actually mattered.
Yep. Yeah, like with the Unbroken, by the time by the time I encountered them, I did enough stuff in the preamble of the game that they already hated me.
Yeah,
like they were not going to let me
Edict of Storms and have them not hate you.
Yeah.
Like I tried to get along with them, but I had read the Edict of Storms, so they did not get along with me at all.
Right.
Yeah,
Like I sat there and tried to talk to one of them. Like there's early on you encounter a town that they've taken over, and like you're trying to negotiate with this commander to let the disfavored through. And I tried talking to the commander to get her to accept giving us passage, and no, she wasn't gonna have anything to do with that. So I ended up, having to kill everybody.
Situations like that, whereas like I'm trying to talk to you, and they're like, nope, you killed a bunch of our friends / did this thing, no, it's no. Which I feel like in a lot of games, those situations there would be a way to talk through them. It would be one of those like, well, we don't like you very much, but okay, we'll trust you for some reason, even though you murdered all our friends in the past.
Nope.
I mean,
so
this game is brutal at rubbing your nose in your past decisions.
In order to join the Vendrian Guard, in order to side with the Vendrian Guard at Vendrian's Well, you have to have not killed both of their leaders in the previous scenarios, as well as have met peaceably with Ebb when she decided to come meet with you.
Yeah, that was no problem.
This also means that you have to have not killed Matani Sybil, which is kind of hard because
True.
Yes.
She's an asshole, first of all.
Yeah,
Who
she
is?
really wants to die.
Donnie Sybil. She doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
She's the one when you are with the disfavored, assaulting that like. No, that's not with the disfavored. It's with both of them. But
she's the one on the other side of the bridge taunting you like
yes.
the entire time.
Finding
you have to not kill her, and then also not kill Pelux Florian, I think his name is, who is in the Scarlet Chorus has this strong interest in. He has to actually get away,
which is not true.
I mean, you can just say you can go, but you have no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really easy to try and keep him alive and have him get killed anyway.
Yes.
Like in my second playthrough, since my one of the options I had during the thing where they've got like he's got one of the Scarlet Chorus and is like stay back or I'll kill him. No, he's got one of the disfavored. Is I'll stay back and I'll kill him. And one of my options was a conquest option because I totally went to Vendrian's Well during conquest and I negotiated the peace. I was like, hey, you know who I am. I negotiated peace. You can trust me. It'll all be cool. Stand down. And he did, and they immediately put a spear in his gut.
Yep.
And then I yelled at the disfavored for making me a liar.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened to me. And I reamed the disfavored for it for like the next hour.
One of the things that I liked about the game was the fact that like there were lots of occasions where you could get help from a faction in an area or say, nope, I got this myself.
Yeah. I love the depth of choices that matter. There's so many of them, and it leads you down so many interesting potential paths. And you realize, like, wow, this path that I went down, if I'd made a different choice like 3 hours ago, it would be completely different. And it makes sense based on the choices I've made, but I don't think I've ever played
It's a little interesting. Like, the basic structure of the game is pretty fixed. In Act 1, you take over Vendrian's Well, somehow, through one of four means. In Act 2, depending on how you did Act 1, you are sent to basically some subset of 4 areas to do various things.
Yes.
Basically the 3 areas where edicts were read, or also Lethian's Crossing. Sometimes these play out pretty similarly, and sometimes they don't. Like, on the Rebels path, you get to Vendrian's Well first, trying to recruit either the Forgebound or the Bronze Brotherhood into your army. The Anarchist path, I believe, goes there last. You're still looking for the exact same item, the Mage Bane Helm.
Wait.
Yeah, I went there first, but then like went there briefly first, got the spire.
I went there because I
then
could
went back.
and got the spire.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then went back for the whole Mage Bane Helm thing later on.
Blood and Mark lets you pick whatever order you want to get the items in. So I went to get the Mage Bane Helm first.
So does he just unlock most of the map for you?
Yeah.
Basically.
One at a time, but yeah.
One at a time. As you're like, hey, you need to first go to the library, then you need to go get one of the 3 items, the helm, the shield, or the sword, and those are either in Lethian's Crossing or in the Sea of Stones or in the last one.
Blades.
Okay.
Blades.
So,
yeah.
so who all took the Silent Library or whatever that thing was called?
I never got to go there.
Definitely took
Silent
that.
Archive.
Silent Archive, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the whole
Oh
point.
yeah.
Yeah, I took it.
Yeah. So the weird thing is like I took it, and then I saw it was a magic item. I'm like, nah, I'm never gonna use this. So it just set in my inventory unused until I got to the trial, and they're like, you took the the whatever, but I see you didn't ever use it.
Yep.
So
Exact same thing happened to me. It was among the things where Tunon was like, but it would have made your job so much easier, and you didn't. And I don't understand.
yeah. It's like you didn't use it, so why did you take it? And like, well, if there's anyone that can handle forbidden knowledge, it's me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only one that's sanctioned to handle forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
In search of power. Yeah, I took it. Yeah, I used it.
Yep.
Because I pissed literally everyone else off. I was following Bloodmark's best ideas of how to get out of this situation alive.
I didn't go into any non-required wall area because I didn't see the point, and that was also a point in my favor.
Yep, me too.
Like, oh, why didn't you go into these? It's like, because there wasn't a reason to. Like, but there's powerful artifacts in there. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. I'm a wizard. What do I need? Like, I shoot lightning from my hands. Like, that's just the thing I do. What do I need? What do I need a magic sword? Honestly, to give to that guy, unlikely.
Honestly, like, I found the items to largely be uninteresting unless you found one of the artifacts.
Artifacts were interesting, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
But like everything else was, oh look, it's trash, and it's a blue piece of trash, or it's a green piece of trash.
I did find one item that I liked a lot. There was some gloves I got from one of the Scarlet Chorus guys I killed that caused an explosion when you dealt critical hits.
I gave those to Verse. Verse was my
That makes
buddy.
sense.
Like it's so weird that I ended up in my playthrough with both Verse and Siren max loyalty.
I can believe you ended up with Verse Max Loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty easy to max loyalty Verse.
Verse just likes to kill things.
Likes you.
Yeah.
And yeah, Verse likes to kill things.
Oh man, so Verse can have a change of heart.
Oh?
Yeah, she can find you inspiring. She can find your restraint inspiring and be impressed by how much you can accomplish through nonviolence, and how much more disruptive your nonviolent approach is than her violent one.
Man.
And she's like, I've gotten predictable. I can't be predictable anymore. Like, I can't be as good as you because I'm predictable and you're not predictable. Maybe I'll try this peace thing out.
Okay, so I'm curious. What did everyone use as their primary party?
So I was not a fan of either the chorus or the disfavored. So as soon as I could, I got rid of Barrack and Verse. So I was super excited when I met Lantry, and then I let Ebb into my party, and then I met Kills and Shadow. And so that's my party. Kills and Shadow is the best.
She's
I love
pretty
her.
great.
Yeah, I love her a lot.
She's
I
probably my
used-
favorite party member.
I pretty much used like Verse and Siren from the moment I got them, and I used Lantry for a long time until I got Kills with Shadow or Kills in Shadows, and then it was werewolf time from that point on.
See, I kept Verse. I liked Verse a lot, and we were buddies. I love Kills and Shadows, and I think my favorite is Lantry. Like,
Yeah.
his comments and his perspectives were always super amusing.
Yup.
And I love every time we went into battle and he was like, fighting again? We're really bad at making friends.
Oh man, so
Yeah.
does that mean nobody else ran around with Ebb and Lantry in their party?
I
tried
would have
very
loved
hard
to
not
have
to run
used
around you.
Ebb, but Ebb would have been super sad at 99% of the things I was doing.
I ran around. So I ran around with the party I really wanted to for a little while until I realized that it was ineffective.
Was it all the mages?
Yes, because my ideal party was
Yeah.
me, Lantry, Ebb, Siren.
Right.
And so eventually I dropped my least favorite of all the mages, sorry, Ebb, and brought Verse back as a bodyguard. And so that was my party.
Like,
So
I predictably played a tank, so yeah.
Yeah, I was playing a archer. I used Verse and Barrack and Lantry up until the point that I got some options, and then I dropped Verse for Siren and kept Barrack long enough to do the Edict of Storms because I promised him that he could come if we went, and I was going to keep my promise to him, whatever. And then dropped him for Kills in Shadow, and so my party for the rest of the game was Kills in Shadow, Siren, and Lantry.
Look, Verse was the cooler of those siblings. Barrack was a wet blanket.
I came to like him later. It takes a while, but
Started out both my playthroughs hating my guts, so I never found out what it's actually like to get to know him.
Yeah, basically,
he's a decent guy.
He was part of my party, and then I basically declared war on his faction, and he got really unhappy, and he's like, I'm gonna leave, and I was like, no, you swore an oath or whatever to stay with me, and you're gonna stay whether you like it or not. And he was super pissed at me forever after that, and I kind of enjoyed it, like just keeping him around to make him angry.
I do like that with sufficient loyalty with both of them, you can get Barrack and Verse to start training together, and they get a combo with each other.
So I got that really early, and that combo is super strong. It was pretty.
A combo that involves Verse shooting flaming arrows at Barrack, which I mean, does she really need an excuse to do that? I feel like she would do that anyway.
My party was basically myself in a melee mage build, which was surprisingly effective. It was Verse mostly as an archer, Kills in Shadow as soon as I got her because I thought she was amazing, and then I went back and forth between Ebb and Lantry, mostly Lantry.
Yeah, I went back and forth between Lantry and Barrack, depending on what I thought I was going to need. I never actually used Kills in Shadow in my party.
So what I discovered very quickly is that sages hate the Tide Callers, and Tide Callers similarly hate sages.
Yep.
And this led
so I didn't have both of them in my party at the same time ever.
Oh, having them both in the party is just fantastic. It's just nonstop them snarking off at each other.
I mean, either one on their own is pretty entertaining. So yeah, I can see that being pretty awesome.
Oh, that reminds me. The other thing that Siren really likes is when you let her snark off at people without shutting her down.
Yep.
Right.
And the more you let her do it, the more she'll try to do it to see how far she can push it.
Yeah. Verse does that too. Like, Verse really wants to interject her opinion, and I was like, go for it.
You know what Siren doesn't like? Rendering the entirety of the stone fields barren for a millennia.
Oh, no. No. She's actually, like...
Too bad I had...
She didn't care. Like, by that time, I was well at max loyalty, and she really didn't do anything. Like, I didn't gain wrath with her.
I did. Like, I kind of hoped that maybe the killing Cairn part, she might like that, because, you know, clearly she thought that he should be allowed to die. But, yeah, I didn't get the opportunity to try to kill Cain and not, you know, destroy the surrounding lands.
I didn't either.
Which kind of annoyed me, because I could have, you know, like, it was this whole thing that, like, oh no, the Scarlet Course are attacking, and if they knock the staves down and we don't replace them, then Cairn will still die, but it won't destroy everything the way we want it to. You need to go put the staves back. And I was like,
no, I don't want to do this.
So if I just hang around long enough and don't put them back, can I not destroy everything? No.
So, well, we're talking about like our parties and what kind of classes we were trying to play. Like, can we talk about the combat and things a little bit? Because it was one of my sort of disappointments with this game, and I think it stems from me just playing it on easy, that by the time I got about halfway through the game, I realized that I could get up and walk away from the computer during combat and come back and everything would be fine.
Yo,
I played on normal, and it did take a little bit of attention up until the very end of the game. At the very end of the game, I had artifacts and I had people built so that it was pretty awful what I did to the voices in the rat. But I had to go through a good number of potions and deal with wounds and all that stuff on a pretty regular basis.
I got an achievement for never using a potion when I finished the game.
Me too.
It's like, what is that? Oh. Huh.
No.
Like, I didn't use very many other consumables other than potions when needed, but yeah, I did definitely need them.
It feels like the game just threw so much random crap at me. And, like, I loot everything, and that's a problem I have. So, like, I just had all this stuff that I don't know what to do with.
Sell it.
Man.
Sell it all
Sell
and use the money
all
for
of it.
useful things.
So I went through a very long portion of the game because I was basically like, I am going to rule this territory by fear and no one will come near me. That, like, until I established some traders in my spires, I just had an inventory full of stuff that I could not sell because
you killed
no
all the vendors?
no one would sell to me. Like I was really low on cash and I was like, I want to add all these upgrades to my spires, but I don't have any money. It's like I had to like spend my last bit of coin to put a trader on one of my spires so that I could vendor all my stuff and afford to do anything else.
Yeah, spoilers for anybody out there who hasn't played. When you get your very first of all, if you haven't played, why are you listening to this? Because, geez, but when you get your first spire, and I wish I had realized this earlier, immediately get the 2 guys that just generate weapons and consumables.
Yes.
Because then they will generate lots of weapons and consumables that you can sell for money to get the things that you really want.
I got the library.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I made the
noticed
library
that.
first, and honestly, it was a mistake. It wasn't very useful to me for quite a while.
I didn't really use almost anything on top of any of the spires.
The thing about the library is that you have access to a lore trainer early.
Yes, that was mostly what I used the library for.
I had so much lore, I don't know if I could have trained it.
I think
unless it was a really massive lore trainer.
I think
it's like up to 75 or something like that.
I might have been able to use that one at that point then.
I think my final lore score was like upwards of 150.
Mine was not quite that high. I think I
was higher
ended
than
up
mine,
with
but I was
120
mage.
first game.
I
It
had
was less than 100 second time.
I had a very stupid chain lightning spell.
I can imagine.
It did hurt quite a large number of people.
I like the concept of the magic system in this game, but I really couldn't be bothered to actually do anything with it.
Yeah, there's so many options, and in practice, I made like 6 spells and just put them on all my people and ran along with it.
Like, I ran around with a one-hander and a shield. Like, I'm not going to ever use this magic stuff.
I built
I ran around with a spell that caused all of my sword hits to create columns of fire and shock people and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I made that one too. It was really awesome. We cast it on Kills and Shadow all the time.
I basically made several of those and ran around using those as my primary method of combat.
Turns
out with enough lore, you can make really stupid versions of that too.
I had all sorts of. I wrung out the magic system for everything it was worth.
I had a bunch of buffs, and I would equip those on everybody so that they could cast them.
Yeah, I had a lot of buffs, and I had like a bunch of interesting healing spells on Lantry, and then mostly didn't worry about magic.
Yeah, I had Siren having heal plus buff spell because that was a neat combo, and enough holes in the ground, enough illusionary holes in the ground to control like 8 or 10 people at a time.
I do think combat is not really this game's strong point, though.
So
it's okay, but it's very fiddly.
I think I would have actually enjoyed it if I had to. Like, if I had played it on a harder difficulty, I think I probably would have been more interested in the combat, but I also probably wouldn't have finished the game in time to
well,
this podcast.
So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit because, like, for me, the first act was awesome. Like, there's a call to action in the first act where do this or everyone dies. So, like, it's a clean path to the finish line. Well, not a clean path, but I mean, it's like this is something to move the story along.
There's an achievement for not doing the thing, apparently. I
Really?
haven't seen what happens. Like, does the game just end? I'm not sure.
But there's around about the point where I was undoing the Edict of Storms. that game was just so much of a slog. Everything seemed to like take forever, and I'm like, is this game ever going to end? And then I pushed through that, and I got to the other edicts, and it started to speed up, and then all of a sudden, towards the very end, it was like, you're back on a clear path to the end. So like, I feel like the game has a really good beginning and a really good end, and this murky middle spot where things aren't moving as fast.
I think there's a middle spot that's giving you a lot of options of how much and what you want to do there, and so it can feel a little, I don't know, spongy because of it.
Well, you're pretty much you're very much on rails at the beginning, and you're kind of on rails at the end, because you're like going down a drain that's eventually going to end in a specific conflict.
Like it is for me, half the map was locked off to me once Act 3 started.
Once Act 3 starts, you pretty much can't go anywhere.
Right.
I felt like Act 3 was... It seemed really short, I think in part because it seemed... So, okay, it seemed odd to me that you do an edict and discover that you have the are able to do edicts, and then like they actually created, I guess there's 5 of them total that you can find, and they have different effects. And I never had any real opportunity to use any of them apart from the story saying it's time for you to do an edict now.
Oh, I used them.
Oh, you can use them.
I used the hell out of them.
I mean, by the time I got them, there wasn't anywhere. I'm like, I was straight into Act 3.
Well, okay.
And
that's when you can drop them.
When I wanted to go kill the Voices of Narat, I dropped an edict on his head.
Yep.
When I wanted to go and kill the other guy, I dropped an edict on his head first. It was pretty great.
Like Voices of Narat and the Scarlet Chorus had the Storm's edict on top of them while I was going to attack.
And I'm like, when I walked into their town, like someone stood at the gate and tried to stop me, and I was like, look,
really?
Do you see that I dropped this edict on your head? Do you really want to stay here?
Okay, but so there's an edict that like one of its effects is weakens Bane. Like I didn't fight another Bane from that point on. Like there weren't any. When like why? What? I don't know.
I have no idea why that one exists.
I feel like I'm a blue mage.
There wasn't enough opportunity to play around with the edicts after I got them. Like I felt like I got them, and now it's time for the game to end. So
they also seem to use some sort of resource that I never quite figured out what it was, but it didn't matter because I had enough of it to do what I wanted to do.
Right, that was how I felt too.
Done earlier, but I had enough, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it's points you get for like eating edicts and finding artifacts and stuff.
My second time, the only edict I ended was the Edict of Flame, so I actually didn't have enough points, and I could only drop an edict on one of them instead of both of them. Also, I didn't really want to drop the Edict of Flames on a place I intended to go, especially not when all the enemies also use fire magic.
Yeah, that seems like it could be a bad idea.
I could have dropped some edicts, but I was like, meh, I'll go ahead and mark it.
But when you kill Voices of Narat, you got an amazing mace. I used that mace from that point on until the end of the game.
What would I do with a mace?
I don't
beat people with it.
That doesn't sound
That's
like
what I did.
Oh, the mace that Graven Ash gives you afterwards? Is that what you're talking about?
No. When you kill Voices of Narat, if you're the one who kills him, you loot off of his corpse.
I didn't get a mace.
Oh, really? I got the multi-faced mace thing that he's got.
It was hidden under his chair or something.
Okay.
It wasn't on his body.
I found the box behind his chair. It didn't have anything really interesting in it. I don't know.
Like it was like this legendary mace item that was amazing.
I already had Dauntless and the artifact dagger that I had my forge dudes make. I was fine. And the grave bow. The grave bow was awesome. Oh, so just how evil was everybody? Did anybody murder a baby?
Yes.
No.
Without hesitation.
I murdered baby werewolves.
Wow.
Baby beastmen.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Poor little beastmen cubs. I felt bad.
I did not murder. Actually,
not
the
do that.
beastmen were the only ones that I almost made friends with. I didn't murder them all. I didn't get friendly enough with them to have like them join me in the end. But
I had so much favor with them. I had so much favor with them, and then the story said, "Nope, you're working with the disfavored, and the beastmen hate the disfavored, so they're going to try and kill you now."
Yep.
Sadness.
Yeah. I basically it was read as dead. I'm sorry. Like, even if they hadn't openly attacked me, they were red things on my map, and I have to clear.
But I absolutely lawyered my way out of killing a baby.
Did lawyer my way out of killing a baby.
And then Tunon got onto me for lawyering my way out of killing a baby. And then I turned it around on him and was like, now wait a minute. If Kairos can leave a loophole that big in his edicts, maybe he's not as infallible as you think.
Yeah, no, I straight up murdered the baby to end the edict.
I totally murdered the baby, but I love that the game gives you the option of either murdering the baby yourself or forcing one of your companions to do it.
Oh,
that's awful.
I don't know.
Which I did not do. I just murdered the baby. And I think I got a favor with verse for that.
But I did do, like, they gave me an option of trying to do it like the least painful way, and I took that.
So what were you going to say, Kodra?
I was just going to say, I don't know. I hear there's a perfectly good reason to order a subordinate to do awful, unspeakable evils.
Plausible deniability.
Sometimes you need to fool a Sith Lord or a Grand Moff.
It's true.
Being a good guy in this game is totally like playing a light side Sith.
I mean...
yes and no. If you do actually manage to side with the Avengering Guard, you can play a pretty good guy.
It felt like if I were to take these options, I would be
catch up with you at the very end if you try to do this.
Like it felt like when I was seeing the options, like I would be walking a super thin line.
So after the first section where you are actually on a clock, is there any like point to the number of days you take to do stuff?
Not that I know of.
Upkeep for your spires.
Oh right.
And all of the things
as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
and sometimes the missives, like responding to missives, and if and when you respond to them. I was having a long correspondence with some retired fate binder that was giving me all kinds of great information.
Yeah, I was carrying on conversations with a couple fate binders.
Yeah.
Including the one that you bump into at the very end that serves you the notice or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I had a conversation with that. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, I know.
Yep. Right. Like at that point, she was my bud, so she was kind of warning me at the same time.
Yeah. She's like, hey, I'm really sorry that I got to do this, but I got to do this. I'm like, it's fine. Don't you worry. I'll go chat with him. She's like, wow, you're really confident. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's not a big deal.
Like, I forget what the phrase was, but it was like basically like, just so you know, if you have to kill Tunon, none of the fate binders will step in against you.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, I hope I don't have to do that. That would be tragic. And she was like, wow, really? You think that?
I think that response is based on your your standing with Tunon.
Yeah, probably.
I was favored with Tunon pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Because I was doing brutal things, but I was absolutely doing them in the name of the court.
I wasn't doing brutal things, and I was doing them in the name of the court.
I think if you can just lure your way out of things, you're probably going to end up pretty heavily favored by Tunon.
Yeah. He doesn't really like you luring your way out of some things.
He doesn't.
Like, if you...
It varies.
Yeah, while you can turn the baby thing back around on him, you gain a lot of wrath for it regardless.
Okay, yeah, I dispelled all the edicts, by doing the face value. Whatever it was that was the wording of the edict, I did it to get them done, including killing babies.
Look, they said I had to kill a baby, I killed a baby.
That's terrible.
I got fancy powers out of it. What else was I supposed to do? I didn't care about that baby. Look, even before I did it, I went to the baby's mom and was like, look, this horrible thing is happening and you could just stop it. It's just one stupid baby. And she didn't like it.
Yeah, I tried to talk to him to get him to stop it. And more importantly, I tried to get the ruler, the regent of Stalwart to basically off himself and end it. And no, you don't understand. It won't end with me. I'm like, well, you can take care of this. If you don't, I will.
He was still alive when she abdicated?
No, I straight up murdered her.
Oh, no.
No, it's I killed that entire family.
I killed nobody at the end of that.
Wow.
It was completely unnecessary.
No, it was totally
No.
necessary. It needed to be done.
Death making is important sometimes.
She was like, I managed to get her secret out. I managed to expose her secret before she wanted it to be exposed. And so she was like, well, crap, what happens now? And I'm like, well, just abdicate, and then it's up to him. And so she abdicated, and he was like, well, I guess the baby's going to be safe, so, for honor, I'll do this, and killed himself. And I was like, problem solved. Everyone's happy. That guy's even feels kind of okay about his seppuku, but whatever. Diplomacy.
Diplomacy is something you use when you don't have a big enough weapon.
I'm a wizard. I don't even carry a weapon.
Diplomacy is
There's the
what
first
other people
problem.
try to do when I come marching into their town to slaughter everybody, and it doesn't work.
See, there are multiple options here.
I was about to say, I'm mostly trying to be diplomatic, but because I'm on the anarchy route, not a lot of people want to hear what I have to say. I don't know, something about betraying everyone has everyone a little sore to me.
Like, for some reason, it's like they don't think they can trust you.
Yeah.
I have no idea why.
Anyways, I offered them an out.
I guess that was the thing, is like, for the most part, I offered everyone an out. They just didn't always take it.
So, it's interesting. You really liked the start of this game, Belle. I did not. The start of this game was kind of dull and frustrating for me.
Really?
But that's mostly because I hated, all of the people I was working with. So, Act 1 actually took me a while to get out of, because I would play the game for 10 minutes and then kind of wander off, and then come back and play it for another 10 minutes and then kind of get bored. And eventually I get to the end of the Act 1 and it lets me betray everyone, and I'm like, yes, that is what I'm going to do because I hate everyone.
Yeah, I spent a lot of Act 1 kind of bouncing back and forth between the two camps and slowly realizing that while I kind of wanted to side with the voices, it just wasn't gonna work. I could see it not working out well in the long run, and so then I had the chance to work with them a little bit and then betray them, and that felt pretty great.
It felt great.
I went back and forth between the two camps because largely I was trying to figure out who I could feel good about supporting. By just right off the bat, I did not like Voices of Neuron, but I did like Graven Ash.
Yeah.
So, and then I was talking to everybody in both camps, and really, the only one that I could at all feel decent supporting was the disfavored.
Yeah.
And I liked the Voices of Neuron in the first cutscene. In the first conversation where you see with him.
One where he's arguing with Graven Ash and then giving messages to you by twirling his scepter.
Yes. I thought that was cool. I liked that. Yeah. And then thereafter he was dumb.
Yes.
I was like, oh, hey, this guy could be pretty... Oh, no, you're just crazy. You're just crazy and manipulative and
It's Kafka.
Yeah, and
transparently
inefficient. No, we're done with you.
Yeah, basically I felt like the problems with the voices were not ones that I could do anything about, whereas Graven Ash, just needed somebody to, tell him not to, kill everybody, to actually take prisoners and so forth.
Yeah, and
I could be that person.
Yeah, it's like Graven Ash could be reasonable when I could at least reason with him and have a conversation that wasn't completely useless. Whereas
he still retains some humanity.
Yeah.
Honestly, what the disfavored reminded me of was the Chaos Warriors from Warhammer Online.
I can see that.
So I am really curious. This game has a lot of athletics and lore checks and whatnot that seem required to navigate some of these areas. What do you do if you don't have enough skill in that?
You can always go around.
Yeah, there's always some way to go. You can't necessarily get to all the parts of the map and get, all the hidden treasures and everything that are scattered around, but there is always a path that you can take to complete quests or do the main story stuff.
often said path will take you through more enemies that you have to fight than otherwise would be necessary.
Well, and a lot of the athletics checks can be bypassed by things that you can find in the map.
Yeah.
So,
There's
like,
that too. Any that are required, there's like a metal pole or something that you can
right, that you can pry it open, or a piece of rope that you can use to climb up with. You just have to go find that item off somebody. I have to tell a tale of, this is honestly like during the period of time that I consider the game a slog. It may not have actually been a slog. Something happened, and I'm not sure what. But about the time I entered the area with the Edict of Storms going on, like, the Edict area was just so dark I could barely see. And I couldn't figure out what was up. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's just the side effect of the Edict of Storms. And then eventually I went into the settings and started fiddling with things. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to have to turn up the gamma to try and counteract the effect of the Edict of Storms. And somehow my game got flipped all the way down to the lowest gamma. So, like, I could literally only see the characters, just the area surrounding the characters. And maybe the game wouldn't have been a slog if it weren't for that happening. But on a lot of levels, I really hope that they come out with a sequel to this game where you continue on.
Yeah, I would very much like a sequel in the Baldur's Gate 2 style, where you can, like, transfer your character over and start at basically the level you were at when the first game ended.
So I find that, like, the gameplay itself of this game, I mean, obviously it was very nostalgic for me because, of course, I love the hell out of those, Baldur's Gate and all, but I kind of wish that I could have this game in a choose your own adventure book format so that I could go back and just, like, see through all of the other potential paths without actually having to play the game again, because I don't really feel like I want to play it again, but I want to know what happens in those other stories.
I think one of the interesting things that, for me at least, was like at the tail end of this game, like, you were told these are all these events and these are the ramifications of your actions. And it's a rather lengthy scroll of things. And while reading those, there were a lot of times where, like, I didn't even realize I could have gone another path. Like, I didn't realize there was another option there. And it made me want to go back and play those specific things and see what I could have done to go down a different path. Because of the way I played, there were a lot of bad things that happened in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at least some of those, I think you're locked into basically based on how you ended chapter 1. Like, if you and I both supported the disfavored, so I'm almost certain we had no alternative but to destroy the Stone Sea completely.
Yeah.
But it is possible to break that edict without, wrecking things for a millennium.
I totally did.
Same.
What frustrated me there was, like, there was this whole sequence where I went back to Graven Ash and said, look, we shouldn't destroy the Stone Sea. Like, we should not destroy this land. And then I get back and I'm not given any options to not do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, they show you this whole sad thing of these farmers trying to grow plants in this area and nothing takes root.
Yep.
Because ultimately, like, I didn't want to make life hard on the peasants. Like, it's all about them having a decent life. I just wanted to stop the people that were warmongering.
Yeah, and like in the other areas that I went to, I was mostly able to do that. But, the Stone Sea in particular was the area where I felt like I had to do a lot of horrible things in that particular area and there was no way around it. Like, because basically the end result of my actions in the Stone Sea were that the Stone Stalker tribe no longer exists and everybody in Halfgate is dead and, like, everything's awful.
And, like, I thought with the Stone Stalkers I was going to be okay because I managed to get up to the chief.
Yep.
Without killing anybody. And then that conversation was totally one-sided and, like, I had no options.
Hoping that, because I brought Kills in Shadow with me, and she had helped me talk my way past the guards and everything, and I was really hoping that maybe her on my side might be able to get them to, to back off, but no.
I was really sad that, I guess because I left the population of humans alive there, and I guess I hadn't gotten completely favored with the beast tribe, that they, like, basically the humans started to go back to expanding and they just pushed them out. Like, that was my ending for them, made me unhappy.
That's not good.
I ended up recruiting the beast tribes for my army when I went through on the rebel path. So no, they didn't get pushed out in the Stone Sea. Also, I didn't break the Edict of Stone, so Karen was still alive and eternally suffering there forever. Oh well, needs of the many, I guess.
I loved the little vignettes about what your characters are doing after the war.
Yeah, Kills and Shadow is out killing any disfavored that don't, agree to my rule.
Oh no, like that's not what happened for me at all. She gets bored and decides to start roaming the countryside killing people, and my folks are tracking her down in name only. But like, it says something about like every time you hear a rumor that she's been killed, you hope it's not true.
Yeah, in my case, apparently any disfavored that are, that swore fealty to me the way they were supposed to, they're safe. All the other ones, she's hunting down one by one.
Oh man, mine.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
She's hunting all of them down and like took off into the north, and like the last that you heard, like it was like you could call her back anytime and she's still loyal to you, but you're kind of happy to let her go off and do her thing and murder lots of people up there.
The other one that made me a little sad actually was Lantries, because it was like, he's recording what you do and he's, being your bud and everything, but he's getting older, and and you slow down sometimes to let him to keep up with, keep recording stuff, and he notices and he appreciates it. But
see, mine said something to the effect of that he was getting older, but that he was training an apprentice to record my deeds.
I had that he tried to train Siren to do it and she was having none of it.
yeah, in my case, Siren went off to like take a vow of silence.
Oh wow.
I also had Siren go off and take a vow of silence.
Which, I mean, I guess there are worse options.
Siren was like my buddy and hung out with me through the end, past the end.
Yeah, like
I had Eb restart the school of Tidecasters.
Yep, that's what Eb did for mine.
Mine, Eb, like, tried to go do that, but then was like so disillusioned that she just ended up going off to become a hermit.
Yeah, they talk about something like that, there's a giant waiting list for the School of Tidecasters.
I do think, of all of the magics, I think the Tidecasters are the most interesting.
It is pretty neat.
Yeah,
I really was.
Mine. Now that I'm remembering, like Siren is my Siren became like the leader of the followers of the Songbird, and like was this inspiring figure for everyone the world over.
Yeah, that's what mine did, I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm really curious about this world, because there's so much stuff that's only just kind of touched on, and all of this backstory that, like, I feel like there's a lot of backstory that you never see. I wonder if this is one of those cases where the world predates the creation of the game.
I'm wondering, because like they talk about how each region has its own paragon, and they all do different things.
Because this definitely feels to me like this could very well be one of those cases where this is the world that some of the designers, their D&D game was set in for for decades, and they decided to make a game and use that world for it.
Well, because there's so much extraneous detail that doesn't go anywhere.
I feel like there's a sequel just waiting to happen, and I will totally play it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to finish Pillars 2 first.
Oh, one thing that I loved, and I don't think we mentioned it, was in the text.
Every game should borrow this going forward.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's so great.
It works so perfectly.
Yeah, the conquest plus the mouse over text system, like the two of those things put together, meant there never had to be a giant info dump.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
So
I'm gonna remind you on mouse over why this term matters.
What's
And
this term? What's this name? Oh, hover.
I didn't
and we'll
have
remind you.
to. Yeah, I didn't have to like track down a library with 50,000 books that like I had to try to parse through to figure out story or context. Like, no, anytime anything was important, it was right in front of me if I wanted to take a look at it.
Well, what it does is it allows you to play a character that's not a neophyte to this world.
Or an amnesiac.
Right. Your character
We know all
knows
this
stuff.
Yeah.
You just don't know stuff. Like, you, the player, doesn't know anything. And the game treats it like you can find your own information. And here's some info.
It's
And also
really cool.
they did some really neat stuff with using because you had the brown text and you had the green text. They used the brown text to give you notes on stuff, and then they did really interesting stuff with the green text. Like, for instance, the voices of Nerat sending you messages like in your head, and it was like there were bits of green text, and when you moused over them, there was the message that he had sent you. But then also, did anybody else try out Lantry's inks?
Try out what?
Lantry's
No.
inks. So if you're talking to Lantry, you talk to him enough, you can ask him about him taking notes all the time, and ask him like, isn't that a little problematic taking all those notes on your arms and everything? He's like, no, it's not, it's okay. I mean, the ink is bad if you drink it, but just absorb through the skin, it's not that bad. The red one gives you slight synesthesia, and the cerulean helps keep me balanced. And then you can ask him if you can try them, and you have to do a little convincing. But you can convince him to let you try the inks. And if you try the red ink, it gives you synesthesia. And the way that it's given to you is like this big paragraph with a bunch of green text in it. And mousing over the green text gives you all this cool information, like what you're seeing and how you're thinking and everything. It's pretty great.
It's very cool. I got to that point with him and asked him about the inks and everything, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that choice.
And then you can try the cerulean ink, and you start having basically the rambling thoughts of someone really high on pot. And then Lantry's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't try anymore.
That is also one of the ways in which you get some letters from Bled and Mark on the Anarchist path. And that is how he lets you know that maybe something's up. You'll get green text that says there is something off about what this is written in, and you get the option to hold it over a candle, which reveals his actual message to you.
I think that's a clever way to have what's being said and then what is actually meant.
So given the huge silence that's going to get edited out before any of the listeners hear it, it seems like we're starting to wind down. Any other thoughts before we begin to wrap things up?
So, I have never actually enjoyed the Baldur's Gates, Neverwinter Nights, Pillars of Eternity style of games. I think the only one even in that vague group that I've ever beaten would have been Knights of the Old Republic, and I don't even know if that counts. But this is really well done. I still don't love the combat, but it's super secondary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kodra, have you ever played Planescape Torment?
I have not.
I feel like
Hopefully,
that would be a game.
Unfortunately, those games are so dated at this point.
Yeah, they really are.
There's an enhanced edition coming out in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the
So
enhanced.
the UI is only a little bit
Hopefully
better.
it'll be a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
It'll at least
problem.
be
tiny
prettier.
little bit.
I tried to go back and play one of the revamped versions of Baldur's Gate recently, and it was one of the things that struck me when I first started playing this game, actually, is
We've come a long way since Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I mean, it feels
We have.
feels very much in that vein, but it also doesn't feel completely painful to play.
Yeah, I just wish I felt so I feel like you play on easy mode where you just sit back and watch your guys do stuff, or you play on harder difficulties where you are constantly pausing and setting up new interactions. And setting up new interactions is really interesting to me. I love doing that in Dungeons and Dragons, but it really slows this game down if you do it like that.
Yeah, it's very much true.
But This game is worth it for the story alone and the wildly different paths that you can take, and it feels great. It's just boy, do I wish that this, like, the actual combat was more interesting, or there was a way to do this type of combat that it was either interesting and not tedious.
You heard the good news about Divinity Original Sin?
And Divinity Original Sin solves the problem by it's a multiplayer experience.
Also, it's actually turn-based, but...
Oh, right. It is actually turn-based. Yeah, and I think actually turn-based would also be better, although you would have to rebalance a lot of things so that combat wasn't interminable.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I feel like the happy medium for me would be this game's everything but the combat, like, and Dragon Age Inquisition style combat.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or at least Dragon Age Origin style combat.
I don't like that game.
I don't feel like,
as far as combat goes.
I don't feel like Dragon Age Origin style combat is noticeably different from this style of combat.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much of a difference. I don't know, like, I enjoyed it initially because it was nostalgic for me, but, and like I said earlier, instead of doing additional playthroughs, I wish I could just read a choose your own adventure, and what I might end up doing is watching some Let's Plays or something, just because I don't feel like going through the whole thing again myself.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm still super interested in it. I still really like the story. Like, I'm super glad that I played it the first time, but it's not a repeat experience, I think.
Which is a pity, because, like, the story is super awesome. A super awesome thing. What's this called? There's a super awesome... As far as RPGs go, this is one of the most replayable I've ever played.
Yeah.
Right.
But the combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they actually were willing to put in, content that was only applicable for, a subset of people playing the game, because only if you took this one particular path.
I think more than anything, I just want to move forward and begin my conquest of Kairos' realms.
Yeah, I want to find out what's up with Kairos, because at the end of the game, you still know very little about him, her, them, whatever.
I mean, like, at the very end of the game, like, or at least in my playthrough, it was very absolutely referring to Kairos as her.
See, at the end, I referred to her as her, and Searing, interjected him.
Yeah, Searing.
Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You were saying her before.
I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Saren was really clear that Kairos was her.
Yeah, for me, Siren was really clear that Kairos was her up until that point. And Tunon went back and forth between her and him, like, the entire time. And
now, Blood and Mark was basically, like, the first one for me that absolutely, with crystal clarity, referred to Kairos as her.
And it's really clear from Siren's backstory that Kairos, like, is, or at least was at that point, a real person, because her backstory involves her trying, basically, almost killing Kairos by getting him to walk over and pull the sword out of one of his court members' scabbards to, kill himself with, but then he snapped out of it. But, like, beyond that, it's all very nebulous.
Maybe Kairos is just gender fluid.
Or maybe there's been more than one Kairos.
Maybe it's not just one Kairos.
Maybe it's a title.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know about your playthroughs, but on mine, on the chaotic one, there is definitely a point where, I don't know, it was a conversation with Lantry or someone where it was like, maybe there have been a bunch of people who have been, issuing edicts, and there's just someone that's, like, taking credit for them.
Yeah, and maybe it's a Dread Pirate Roberts sort of situation, I don't know.
Oh,
and
I want. Go ahead.
Well, and like when I cast my first edict, you can do some fiddling with the pillar beforehand and ask questions and stuff. And at one point, the pillar showed me, like, lots of other people that had been up on the spire before, and, like, it kind of made me wonder if the implication here was that maybe one of those people was the person that became Kairos. So I don't know.
Well, I did find it weird that Kairos' edicts all seem to have to be carried out by a Fatebinder. Whereas yours, you just straight up cast them at will.
Yeah.
And that's why people are so scared of you, because you seem to be more powerful than Kairos.
Well, and the implication, again, from that, with questioning the pillar and everything, is that you are more in tune with the Spire than any of the previous people that came up ever were. So, like, if Kairos may be partially attuned with the Spire, enough to be able to do edicts the way that they do, maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
Or, I mean, it could simply be that, like, Kairos's special power is dreaming up these devastating spells that then someone else has to implement.
Yeah.
And you can just straight up cast spells. Now, you have to have witnessed the spell first.
Right. You can't create new edicts. You can recreate the ones that you broke, or, the one like that you can have research and stuff, but you can't make a brand new one.
I think that's the thing that's most interesting to me is, like, I love this concept of the Archons, and, like, that they all have one weird special gift that they have, and they're super varied in what they can do.
And that gift seems to grow out of how they are viewed, which leads to that whole question of how, like, is the Archon's power, like, completely a result of, how the populace at large views that Archon. And if that's the case, then it would make sense that you, as a Fatebinder, would gain the power to proclaim edicts, because that's what Fatebinders do.
Well, and you get this weird sense that, like, you're given Archon of the Tears as a title because nobody really knows what the extent of your power is.
And nobody wants to call you anything else because it makes Kairos look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if they called you the Archon of Edicts, that would imply that Kairos is, like, not special.
So I briefly want to talk about how awesome playing a game that is very, very, like, non-gender conforming is. And, like...
Yes.
Doesn't really even... doesn't really... It is obvious because it is so unlike everything else I play.
But in game, it's all just that's
just how things are.
Is. Yeah, like there's any number of same-sex couples, different sex couples, and it's just like there's never any. That's just normal.
Of course, the brothel is going to have 2 female courtesans and 2 male courtesans. Why would it not have equal representation? Of course, the beast tribes are all matriarchies. Would it make sense for it not to be?
And land ownership travels through the female line. Only women can own land. Men can own ships.
Because Lethian was a female trader.
Yeah.
And so of course everything travels through the female line with her.
Well, no, with the tiers in general. That's
is
standard
that
throughout
just the tiers in general?
Yeah,
that's in the
that's
the
established
intro.
in the Conquest. Yeah, it talks about it.
When you make your character, actually, I think it even says, because I was sort of reading, because every once in a while you get a game where there's some bullshit thing where, if you play women, you can't do this, and if you play men, you get these things. Like, no.
Yeah, in the tiers, property ownership, as far as land, is the purview of women, and men are ships are the purview of men. Which is another one of those things that makes me wonder if this world existed prior to this game, because, like, ownership of ships doesn't come up anywhere in the game. It's never a thing.
Yeah, when I saw that in the character creation, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be, like, angry because I'm gonna play a woman and I can't have a ship. Like, I want to have a ship, but, like, it didn't have
land
any
ownership nor ship ownership ever come up for your character.
Well,
no.
And, like, this is what I was saying earlier. Like, there's just these extraneous details that are talked about but never actually factor into the story.
The thing about women owning land does to a degree, because there's a murder mystery, and, less of a mystery and more of a, you go hunt down the guy who supposedly did the murder, and he's like, what? No, I didn't do it. Her wife did it. What are you talking about? And then you go back and the wife admits it.
And then you kill her, and everyone hates you.
Nobody hated me.
So I was trying to figure out how, like, what it said is Lethian's Crossing hates you because you like killed her without like telling anyone of her misdeeds. So I reloaded to try and like be like, hey, she did something wrong, and I couldn't figure out how to do that.
Huh. Yeah, I just pursued everything with Gino, to get all the evidence, and then I went and I pursued every, and I got her to admit that she did it, and then, got her to tell me about why and how and everything, and then I killed her, and everything was fine.
So, also related to killing lots of people, I was pretty relieved that as I made my way through the game and my horrible swath of destruction, that I still had some interesting choices to make, and that I didn't get railroaded onto a path of no, you have to work with some guy that you hate, or that, oh, well, if you go down this chaotic path, the game just becomes super less interesting because you have lots of options taken away from you.
Like I had a decent number of places where I had no option but to kill someone, but I don't think I ever had a point where I didn't have the option to kill a person.
The number of times I had the option to betray my alliance was staggering.
Well, that's because you were working for this favored, right? They just figured eventually you'd want out. Those guys are miserable.
No, they're awesome. They have plate armor. That in itself makes them awesome.
Armor? You know who else has plate armor? The Bronze Brotherhood.
Yeah,
those guys are jerks.
Those guys are
less
jerks.
than the disfavored.
I killed them instantly.
Okay, the disfavored are not led by a dude that is possessed by a bane.
Look, when you kill him, the rest of them are fine.
Yeah, the rest of them actually seem like they could be kind of okay, but that guy is an ass.
Well, I think I did something at Lethian's Crossing, and they were not happy with me.
Just kill them all.
It was easier that way.
They were in my army.
Like, I kind of wished I had options when I just, like, straight wiped the map with something to go back and install my own people there. Because, like, these are perfectly good houses. This is a perfectly good trading center. The bloodstains shouldn't matter that much. I mean, at least when you're following the whole disfavored warpath, they do re-inhabit the areas you've conquered.
Yep. Yeah, once you wipe out a bunch of Scarlet Chorus, the disfavored will show up and take over the camp.
So I'm getting kind of the overall idea that most of us really enjoyed the game.
What? No, not at all.
It's very good.
Yeah, this game was excellent. Good choice, Dan.
I think this is probably the first game since Transistor that we universally like.
We didn't do Transistor like this. Most of us like Chroma Squad.
Well,
this is the first game in a long time that as soon as I finished the game, I had a real urge to start a new game.
Yeah.
Like of this game, to start a new playthrough.
Well, that last sequence where they're telling you all these things and this is what happened, like, made me immediately want to try and figure out how to go down different paths.
And I feel like I need to play this game 4 times to see everything.
I am curious, since apparently no one did this, to see what happens if you side with the Scarlet Chorus.
I'm sure it's really interesting.
Actually side with the Scarlet
Yeah,
Chorus
that would
and
probably
not
be
immediately betray them like
Yeah.
I did.
That would be my next playthrough, I think, if I was going to do another one, because I'm kind of curious.
I did a little looking because I'm curious, and I get the impression that it involves feeding a lot of people to the voices of Nerat.
There's a lot of achievements in this game. Like, I only unlocked 18 during the playthrough.
I got 22 during one playthrough.
I have 24. One of them was because I never took a potion, because the combat was too easy.
33, but that's across 2 playthroughs.
Like, among the ones I didn't get the one for maximum loyalty with a companion or the one for maximum fear with a companion.
I got both of those.
So got both of those.
Yeah, I didn't get either of those. I didn't even get all the companions because I never recruited Siren. I was like, no, you seem like bad news.
Yeah, she's actually great. You would probably really like her.
I'm sort of sad to hear that you didn't recruit Siren because I think you would have really liked her.
Because I was really worried about her too. I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but then she turned out to be awesome.
I was like, this sounds like a hilariously terrible idea. Let's do this. And I was like, I have a new best friend. You also think everything about this world is stupid, but don't want to burn it all down.
Like, it turns out the things she was doing in the Conquest were all because the voices of Nerat made her. And she actually thinks Kairos is awful.
Yes.
For
She's like,
very good reasons.
Kairos is awful, and I have never had the freedom to do anything that I've wanted to on my own. And like, I'm like, I know those feels. Hang out with me. And she's like, fine, I'll follow another stupid person because I guess it'll suck if I don't. And then after a little while, it's like, wow, you actually aren't a terrible person and you want to do good. This is great. How about I lend you all of my power? Like, yeah, sounds great. You know, if you want, like, you don't have to.
Like, she's arguably the most legitimately good and kind one of the companions.
Yeah, straight up, absolutely.
Like, she's the one that wants to do good things.
Yeah.
She probably would have hated running around with me.
Probably so.
Sort of tries to do good things sometimes when they're not related to the sages.
Yeah. Like, I think the things that Eb wants to do can be classified as mostly good, but I think it's different. Eb and Lantry are kind of on the same tier in my mind as to like goodness.
I feel like Lantry is neutral.
Actually neutral.
Lantry is very neutral, which in this game makes him pretty high up as far as goodness.
I think my next playthrough will be attempting to not align to anything.
Yeah, I think my next playthrough is going to be pretty similar, it sounds like, to what Tam did. Like, ultimate cosmic power mage.
Yeah.
Just deciding, like, I'm going to take everything for myself and screw all you guys.
They asked me to pick a weapon to start with, and I was like, lightning magic. And then they asked me to pick a second weapon, and I was like, lightning magic. I'm not seeing the downside here. And I didn't. I wielded lightning magic. When they asked me to cast an edict, there was only one choice.
The Edict of Storms would work really well for you then.
I kind of want to try and like befriend all the rebel factions in a playthrough.
So
I was pretty good friends with the sages.
If you don't mind me spoiling a bit of the structure of the rebel path, you can't get them all.
Okay.
The end game kicks in before you can even go to all of the areas that they are in. So I didn't even make it to Stalwart on my rebel playthrough.
So can you not get all of the spires in a rebel playthrough?
You can, you just need to go to them in the right order. Like, you had a choice between, you have to start at Lethian's Crossing,
but you can,
which of course has a spire in it.
Right.
You can then, from there you get some choices, and I went to Stone Sea and recruited the Beastmen, where there are 2 spires.
Right.
And then after that I went to Burning Library and recruited the Sages. And then the endgame kicked in, so I didn't get to the last spire. I could have gone to Stalwart instead of the Burning Library.
What is the option to end that edict without destroying the library?
You replace the Silent Archive with an artifact.
Yeah, I had the option to do that, and I was like, nah, I'm just going to let it burn down.
It's worth noting that if you do this, you can go back in and there's an artifact in there.
So you can go back later and take the artifact. Does the library get
you
destroyed?
Can't take the artifact you used.
Oh, okay.
There is like some sage-related thing in there that you can get if it doesn't burn up.
Yeah, because I knew you could, like, even after you gave the Magebane helmet back to Lethian's Crossing, you could totally, like, change your mind and take it back.
But if it's not there when you end the game, Lethian's Crossing has a bad end.
They had a bad time. My game.
I let them have the helmet because I wore light armor and it was iron and I didn't have any use for it. Like, I couldn't put it on Barrack, so what the hell good is it for me?
I feel like heavy armor is a little weird in the first place. Like, if you are not using it, then, well, Kills and Shadows does not use armor. Barrack does not use armor. The rest of your party members come with light armor.
Yeah. Like, you could put them in heavy armor. Like, I don't know.
Lantry actually makes a pretty amusing paladin.
Like, I could maybe see heavy armor on Siren, since presumably it would not affect the speed of her songs, and that's what really matters.
She gets bonuses to like not be engaged at all if she's in light armor, though, I think.
I ended up wearing a full suit of disfavored armor that was purple quality that I could buy in one of the camps.
I never bought any armor or weapons. I just used what I found, and like eventually towards the end of the game, I upgraded everything that was below purple quality at my forge.
The disfavored armor set was just sweet looking.
Yeah, particularly artifacts, since you can get artifacts that are like, I think the lowest any of my artifacts was the blue quality, but but I absolutely got a couple that were blue.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
This game is good.
It is. You should
Yes.
play it, but you should have played it before you actually listened to the show.
Seriously.
So what is the next game?
The game of the month for the month of April is Moon Hunters. Moon Hunters is one of the very first games to come out of the Square Enix Collective, which was Square looking through promising projects, looking for things that they should put on Kickstarter, and this was one of them.
Was it Child of Light one of those?
No, Child of Light was published by Ubisoft. It was just something they did on the engine that they did Rayman in.
Ah, okay.
But Moon Hunters is a co-op RPG / personality test.
This sounds amazing already.
It's
What?
interesting.
So it's like the Myers-Briggs in game form?
We'll see, I guess.
I was thinking like an inkblot test.
That's different.
Or maybe that thing with the cube?
You mean like the foldy paper cubes from high school, or
No, it's like a personality test that's about like picturing things, and it starts, picture a cube. How big is the cube? What is the cube made of?
I'm lost now.
And so on and so forth from past that, yeah.
I'm really lost now. Train of thought totally gone, thanks.
Sorry.
Anyway, I picked this mostly because it has co-op, and I wanted us to play a co-op game.
totally?
I know that this is also fairly short. We may play through it multiple times, because it's 3 days. 3 in-game days for a playthrough.
Oh, so it's like majority.
Except you don't get to start over.
Oh,
So we'll probably be giving this a shot, and we'll let you know how it goes in about a month.
Cool.
Yay!
Well, I really look forward to hearing commentary on this one, mostly because this game has got so many different options in it. So
It was game of the year, one of the games of the year for 2016 for a reason.
yeah.
it was really good.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week for a normal one. Good night.
Good
Normal as
night.
we get anyway.
Night.
Have a good
night.
one.